Okay, moving on to lesson 3, 3 Days to See by Helen Keller. So as we know from the note on the lesson, it's about a hypothetical situation where a person is blind and that person gets sight for 3 days. What all a person intends to do in those 3 days is the matter of this short story. All of us have read thrilling stories in which the hero had only a limited and specified time to live. Sometimes it was as long as a year, sometimes as short as 24 hours. But always we were interested in discovering just how the doomed man chose to spend his last days or his last hours. I speak, of course, of free men who have a choice, not condemned criminals whose sphere of activities is strictly delimited. So, in the very beginning of the short story, the author poses a hypothetical situation or talks about a situation where we have all come across fantasy stories or even stories from movies where the protagonist has only short time to live. And what does that person do in the short time is a matter of importance. So here also, he says, what always we were interested in discovering just how the doomed man chose to spend his last days or his last hours. So since our perception about life varies, each one of our responses to this hypothetical situation will be different. So that is what the author tries to say. And here the author obviously mentions that this hypothetical situation or option is for those who are free human beings, means who are free citizens, who are not confined within four walls of a jail. Such stories set us thinking, wondering what we should do under similar circumstances. What events, what experiences, what associations should we crowd into those last hours or mortal beings? What happiness should we find in reviewing the past? What regrets? So here he talks about the dilemmas that an individual faces when in such type of hypothetical situation where the individual knows that the coming few hours will be his or her last minutes. Should we talk about our past? Should we talk about the present? Should we repent for something? Should we relive the most memorable moments? Should we feel happy? Should we have express any regrets? All these other psychological questions is posed in the minds of that particular person. Sometimes I have thought it would be an excellent rule to live each day as if we should die tomorrow. Such an attitude would emphasize sharply the values of life. We should live each day with gentleness, vigor, and a keenness of appreciation, which are often lost when time stretches before us in the constant panorama of more days and months and years to come. There are those, of course, who would adopt the Epicurean motto of eat, drink, and be merry, but most people would be chastened with the certainty of impending death. So here you may have come across this saying. If somebody, many times we have come across this in even in social networking sites, they say, um, we don't die once. Okay, they say we die only once. Okay, therefore we have to live every day. Otherwise, it's just like dying every day. Okay, so that is what that the author is trying to say, that how people's perceptions vary depending on the situation and how each individual differs. That's what he's saying. Rather than we don't say uh, that we die once, we just say we live every day. Our main focus should be on that. In stories, the doomed hero is usually saved at the last minute by some stroke of fortune, but almost always his sense of values is changed. He becomes more appreciative of the meaning of life and its permanent spiritual values. It has often been noted that those who live or have lived in the shadow of death bring a mellow sweetness to everything they do. So even in movies, you might have seen. So at the end moment where the hero is about to die or the protagonist is about to die, he's saved by some supernatural force. So in European literature, it is called as Deus ex machina. Means when people are finding it difficult to identify a solution, God only offers some kind of solution that is called as Deus ex machina. So here the author is talking about how in various stories and movies also you find some solution at the end of the climax, and after this there is a transformation in the protagonist. The protagonist becomes more sober, more fearful towards God, or more respect, start expressing more respect towards God, because they say that once if any person has escaped from that death or tasted death, they will become more humble because they will realize the meaninglessness of all these struggles. Most of us, however, take life for granted. We know that one day we must die, but usually we picture that day as far as in the future. When we are in a buoyant health, death is all but unimaginable. We seldom think of it. The days stretch out in an endless vista. So we go about our petty tasks, hardly aware of our listless attitude towards life. So he says how here the author talks about how people are not at all worried about death. They think rather than worrying, even think about it, because according to people, they feel that death is some way very far. It's many years after, but they do not know it could happen any moment. And here also say when a person is healthy, he will not even bother about death at all. He or she will not even consider the impact that the death has on individuals. So here it says the days stretch out in endless vista. So we go about our petty tasks, hardly aware of our listless attitude towards life. Listless means without being aware that one day we are going to die and one day everything is going to end. Okay, so we keep on, we live, or we start struggling as if we will live on this earth forever. The same lethargy, I'm afraid, characterizes the use of all our facilities and senses. So here he says, just like how we keep on spending time unnecessarily on meaningless aspects, despite being aware of the fact of death. Similarly, he feels the same lethargy, I'm afraid, characterizes the use of all our facilities and senses. So in the context, in the pre-reading, you are aware that this is about blindness. So here the author expresses the same type of listless attitude, careless attitude that we have towards life, we have towards our senses also. Here, use of all our facilities and senses means usage of our sense organs. He says, in the life, in the struggle of life, people tend to use their senses properly. They become lethargic. They are even lethargic. Only the deaf appreciate hearing. Only the blind realize the manifold blessings that lie inside. Particularly, does this observation apply to those who have lost sight and hearing in adult life? But those who have never suffered impairment of sight or hearing seldom make the fullest use of these blessed faculties. So here he says, only a deaf person can appreciate what the beauty of music. Only a blind person can realize the beauty of nature. So he's telling this in the context of a person who has seen, who has heard, but at a later stage, due to some problem, he or she has lost sight and hearing also. So only such kind of people can appreciate or highlight the importance of sight and hearing. But those who have never suffered or impairment, they can't comprehend it at all. Their eyes and ears take in all sights and sounds hazily, without concentration, with little appreciation. It is in the same old story of not being grateful for what we have until we lose it, of not being conscious of health until we are ill. I've often thought that it would be a blessing if each human being was stricken blind and deaf for a few days at some time during his early adult life. Darkness would make him more appreciative of sight. Silence would teach him the joys of sound. So here the author tries to say that people forget the blessing from the Almighty. So they do not make appropriate use of their eyes or ears. Okay, they can neglect it. Therefore, the author suggests that every individual should be made blind and deaf for certain period of time during adulthood. So only then they will be able to appreciate the usage of eyes and ears and utilize it in a much better manner. Now and then I have tested my seeing friends to discover what they see. Recently, I was visited by very good friend who had just returned from a long walk in the woods, and I asked her what she had observed. Nothing in particular, she replied. I might have been incredulous. Had I not been accustomed to such responses, for long ago, I became convinced that the seeing see little. So it's a very important observation from this author. He says, let's say, he said that the author spoke to one of the friends who completed the walk in the woods or in the forest, and the author questioned the person, questioned her, what did you do, what did you observe? Then she replied, nothing in particular. So then the author wonders, how can a human being not appreciate the beauty of nature and then just say didn't observe anything? Therefore, based on this instance, he comes to a conclusion that the seeing see little. The seeing see little means those who have sight, those who can see, they see very little. They are because they have lost the facility or faculty of appreciating nature or seeing in a better manner. How was it possible? I asked myself to walk for an hour through the woods and see nothing worthy of note. So this is the question that the author asks herself. I can't see find I cannot see find hundreds of things to interest me through mere touch. So the author is trying to say only through touch I feel many things. I see many things. And he wonders how her own friend is not able to appreciate the beauty of nature despite walking in the wood for almost an hour. I feel the delicate symmetry of a leaf. I pass my hands lovingly about the smooth skin of a silver birch or the rough, shaggy bark of a pine. In spring, I touch the branches of trees hopelessly in search of a bud, the first sign of awakening nature after her winter's sleep. So here the author says by just through touch of a leaf, he is able to comprehend, the author is able to comprehend the beauty of nature. But the author wonders how author's friend is unable to appreciate it. I feel the delightful velvety texture of a flower and discover its remarkable convolutions, and something of the miracle of nature is revealed to me. Occasionally, if I am very fortunate, I place my hand gently on a small tree and feel the happy quiver of a bird in full song. So I feel my hand gently on a small tree and feel the happy quiver. So see, though he can't listen, though the author is deaf, he's able to comprehend the beauty by just through touch, beauty of the bird song just through touch of the small tree. I'm delighted to have the cool waters of a brook rush through my open fingers. To me, a lush carpet of pine needles or spongy grass is more welcome than the most luxurious Persian rug. So he says he's more involved into natural aspects. Even if you give him the costliest Persian rug, he will not find that very convincing or comfortable when compared to that of a natural surrounding of a pine needles and spongy grass. To me, the pageant of seasons is a thrilling and unending drama, the action of which streams through my fingertips. So it's just like how we call beauty contests as beauty pageants. He considers the movement, the change of seasons as like a beauty context, and for him that itself is thrilling, and it is if consider it as a never it has never ending, the action of which streams through my fingertips. So he says he experiences all these through touch itself. At times my heart cries out with longing to see all the things. If I can get so much pleasure from mere touch, how much more beauty must be revealed by the sight. Yet those who have eyes apparently see little. So he says, so now the author is blind. So now we feel, here the author has given a backdrop. He mentioned about the author mentioned about her friend, and then said how people with sight are unable to appreciate the beauty of nature. Now the author expresses her desire that it would have been better for her if she had got sight for some days so that she could experience all this and witness all this. At times, my heart cries out with longing to see all these things. If I can get so much pleasure from mere touch, how much more beauty must be revealed by sight. So she feels that only through sight you can experience beauty better. Yet those who have eyes apparently see little. The panorama of color and action which fills the world is taken for granted. It is human perhaps to appreciate little that which have and to long for that which we have not. But it is a great pity that in the world of light, the gift of sight is used only as a mere convenience rather than as a means of adding fullness to life. So the author says, expresses her desire to have sight for at least some days so that she can appreciate the beauty of nature. And simultaneously, she also says that people with sight have failed to appreciate the actual beauty of nature and they have neglected it rather than using it as rather than using the senses, especially sight and hearing, to add meaning to life. They are just using it for convenience, everyday convenience. If I were the president of a university, I should establish a compulsory course in how to use your eyes. The professor would try to show his pupils how they could add joy to their lives by really seeing what passes unnoticed before them. He would try to wake their dormant and sluggish faculties. So the author says if she happens in future, or if she had been a hypothetical situation, a vice chancellor or a president of a university, she would have introduced a special course to students where students are taught how to see, how to appreciate, use the eyes, how to use the ears, how to appreciate the beauty of nature. So where in that course the concerned teacher would teach the students how to add meanings to their lives or values to their lives by using their senses. Only then he feels, only when you explore various facilities of human beings can become more creative. Otherwise, the sense organs will become dormant, means almost stable in the sense stagnant and sluggish faculties.